Okay, let's get this webinar started. So as you know, today we will talk about how to use Microsoft Cloud App Security to protect your Slack environment. This is the latest installment of our series on how to protect non-Microsoft applications using Microsoft Cloud App Security. In the past, we have discussed different apps such as Salesforce, GitHub, AWS, Box, and today we're doing Slack. We'll have more coming in the future.
So hello, I'm Idan, and today we will talk why protecting Slack, what are the use cases for protecting Slack, and we will show a short demonstration of how to configure MCAS and how to use MCAS for protecting Slack. First of all, why protecting Slack? So Slack is one of the most popular collaborative tools for messaging, for transfer files, for sharing code, and a lot of functionalities of collaboration within your organization. And on top of this, when so many users of your organization use Slack, you want to protect it because a lot of highly critical sensitive information, files, messages, data is being in Slack. You don't want that this data will leak outside your organization. If it's an account that was compromised or a user that did a mistake and changed configuration that will have that is a potential security risk, you want to protect your environment from a possibility of data leakage. And today, in order to protect it, we will show several use cases. We defined 4 use cases in order to protect Slack. And Johan, can you continue to the next slide? Thank you. And we defined 4 use cases for protecting Slack. And in MCAS, we will show you how to protect with those 4 use cases. And with other use cases, you can also protect via MCAS the Slack application. So first use case is protecting Slack for different kind of anomalous detection, anomalous behavior of users in Slack. The second use case is more particular to Slack, and it's regarding creation and usage of public shared link that were created inside Slack. The third use case is regarding the posture management visibility, and it focused on detecting allow public sharing and allow public posting. And we will show exactly in this use case why it's important and how to configure it. And the fourth use case is regarding permission monitoring inside Slack and how to prevent and detect users that were elevated by their permissions.
And so of course,
right. Yeah, sorry, continue.
MCAS will be just a quick overview on Microsoft Cloud App Security. So that's obviously the tool that we will use to apply all these protection scenarios. I assume that if you joined other instances of this series, you've seen this slide before, but just a quick note, the idea of Microsoft Cloud App Security is that it's a cloud access security broker, or CASB, and its goal is to help you protect your applications in the cloud. So we have different ways to do that. We can help you, number one, identify any kind of shadow IT you would have in your environment, somebody using, for example, a non-approved applications. And then when it comes to approved applications, we can connect to them app to app, cloud to cloud, using API connectors. That's basically what we're going to talk about the most here with regards to Slack. And we also have the ability to proxy applications. So intercept the traffic between the client and the app so that we can limit some actions such as upload, download, copy, paste, print, fun things like that. So that's in a very, very short summary, that's the kind of things we're hoping to do, and we're able to help you with using Microsoft Cloud App Security. And so we will see very quickly how to configure those use cases that we just discussed. So number one use case you really don't have anything to configure. You just have, all you have to do is connect Slack to MCAS. Once it's connected, automatically you will have a number of built-in threat detection policies that will apply without doing anything. Just the app is connected, there are activities that are flowing, we can already get some information, and we can get some data. So among all of the detections you see here, of course, some apply to not all applications. For example, mail forwarding rules do not apply to Slack. There's no concept of email, but what will apply to Slack are things such as activities coming from anonymous IP address, or from infrequent countries, or suspicious IPs, impossible travel. Any kind of brute force attack would also be detected, and some unusual activities as well. So that's the kind of threat detection we are able to see in MCAS for Slack. And as I said, that's the easiest config you can think of. You just have to connect the app, and once it's done, there's no more policy to configure. All of these are built in, and you don't have anything else to do.
And for the second use case, let's talk about how Slack operates. So Slack admin can enable or disable the creation of public shared link. And once Slack admin enabled the public shared link, users in the Slack and the organization that use Slack can create a public shared link and send it to different users. And these users, and that also can be external user, can access to this link and see the file. If a user create a public shared link, you can be alerted via MCAS that this public shared link was created. And if another user access to this public shared link to the file, you can be alerted also. But being alerted only for this creation of this link is not give you the whole picture, because there are multiple creation of single public sharing link. What you can do also is filter this creation of the link by specific user. So for example, if you want to filter only user group of external users or consultants or developers, etc., you can choose which user group you want to filter. And if a user from this user group will create a public share link, you will be alerted with this information. Another filter that you can have is a repeated activity of creation of public share link. If a user is creating one public share link within a day, so it's not a suspicious activity. But if, for example, an account was compromised, and then this compromised account creates 10 or 20 a public share link in 30 minutes, in 20 minutes, so this can be alerted as suspicious activity, and you can configure exactly what amount of time, how many occurrences of this activity or the user group to create. The third use case is regarding the configuration of the public shared link. So we said that Slack admin can configure if the public shared link or shared post is enabled in the Slack organization of the customer, or the Slack organization that you use is not is disabling this configuration. In case you in your organization, the recommendation in your organization is to disable public sharing in not only in Slack, let's say in several SaaS applications. So you can in Slack and in other SaaS applications also you can configure this, depend which SaaS application exactly, but in Slack you can configure that MCAS will detect an alert if this configuration is being changed to enable, or even disable, but usually you want it to be if this configuration is being enabled. And once this configuration is being enabled, you immediately will be alerted. And you can also here, you can filter it by user group. Repeated activity here is less relevant. And the fourth use case is regarding permissions. And you want in your Slack organization, and mainly with every SaaS application, that user will have the permission they required and not more than this. And here in Slack, the two main more risky permissions and is if the users are owners or admins. And you can be alerted if Slack owners or admins are being added or removed. But if let's say an external user or a specific user from user group or even any user in your organization is being added as an owner or admin, you immediately will be alerted and you can investigate if this user needed to be admin or owner, or this was this permission was given him by mistake, or it is a compromised user.
Thank you, Idan. And now we'll go to the demo. So what we're going to show you in that demo is basically scenario number 2. We'll touch base on the other scenarios very quickly, just giving you an overview of the interface. But we really want to focus on everything related to public file shares in Slack. So in a short moment, you will see my lab environment here, and you can see that we already connected Slack for the sake of saving some time. So Slack is connected here. We're going to go straight to the activity log and see all the different kind of activities that are reported for Slack. So right now you see a lot of things because I have other applications connected, but let's filter it to Slack. As you can see, there are a number of activities for Slack here that happened a few weeks ago. And what we care about here is detecting any kind of public shared link created. So here, file public link created. So right away we can see the different files that were shared for which a public link was created. So if we want to create an alert based on that, it's fairly simple. We can click on the new policy from filter, and we have the activity policy page that just opens. By default, it goes with a single activity, but let's say in our case, we really care about having, let's say, more than 5 in 30 minutes. That would be an interesting number, and it would be a count per user. If you want, you can also include or exclude users, for example, and you can say everybody except a specific group that I would be familiar with, let's say an external user, and that would allow you to detect when somebody creates public file share link, but you could exclude or include specific users. Then you can define what settings you want for the alerts, if you want an email, if you want a text message, and you can also send the alert to Power Automate, which can be very powerful to make sure that you are able to act upon the alert automatically, have some kind of automated flow that will trigger as soon as the alert is triggered. So in our case, I'm going to cancel this alert simply because I already created this policy before, and I want to show you when you have this kind of alerts triggering, the kind of alerts that you are getting. So if I look here, you can see that a public share link was created. And in that would generate an alert. The alert could be very well sent to your SIM as an email, as a text, as we send, and you will get the details here on who was the admin who actually created that share link and what is the file here and where it was done from, which country, IP address, etc. You can get information about the device if you need. A few more details here. So these are examples of what you're able to get. Now you're going to tell me it's great. We don't really mind if public shared link are created. What we really want to know is if public shared link are used, because right now there's nothing that tells us if this link was used or not. So for that, it's fairly simple as well. There is a feature in Slack that the username for any anonymous access to those shared link is actually a reserved name called use Slack user. And when we select it, we can see anytime somebody downloaded this file. So you can see that the activity is a download on this user, and you can see where it came from. You can see which file was downloaded. So that's really, really helpful. You can do it as an investigation in the purpose of some kind of advanced hunting after you after you see that there are alerts, or if you have any doubts that there is a mass download happening, or if you want, you're more than welcome to create a policy and again do the same thing. Keep those filters and do some kind of repeated activity, alerts as you please. So all of that is very, very straightforward and very simple to help you detect any kind of file that would be shared publicly. And we believe that this simple configuration alone can really help you protect from some kind of data leakage. Just because we have a little bit more time and not so many questions today, we will spend time in reviewing some of the other options that we have here and the other scenarios we covered. So one thing that is very important, going to the policy page, is seeing the list here that we have of built-in policies. Not, as I said, not all of them would apply to Slack, but a fair enough number. So impossible travel is definitely relevant. It's the idea of having different connections from different areas in the world. For example, somebody connecting from the US and from France within a few minutes. So that would definitely be impossible, and it would require to trigger an alert. Of course, we have ways to suppress that to limit false positive, but that's the main concept. We have other detections such as suspicious IP address. So we actually categorize our IP address. We have a threat intelligence team at Microsoft that will help detect when there is an IP address that can be used as an anonymous proxy, or as most importantly, as a command and control center for a malware or a ransomware. So if we see that there is traffic coming from those risky or suspicious IP addresses, we will also let you know. And of course, if you already have access to an MCAS environment, I will let you browse through this list of alerts, because you will see a large number of them are pertinent to Slack, as well as to most of the applications you may have out there, and they can really help you maintain a good level of security in your environment.
Johan, another very nice policy here is the unusual file sharing. MCAS is learning every file sharing activity of every user and has and gives for every user its baseline for file sharing. And once if you will type unusual or file share, I think it will be.
Yep.
So once the user once we detect in MCAS an unusual file sharing for a specific user, we will immediately alert it, and it will be customized to every user, has its own baseline of file sharing. So this is also will apply to Slack, and this is very powerful to every application that has file in it, and files can be shared.
Thank you, Idan. Indeed, that can be great in our whole data leakage story, because it really adds a layer of visibility in terms of what is happening at the user level and really at the individual user level. So that's very powerful. And on top of that, as you know, if you look at the activity log, you're always able to apply any custom policy that you think is relevant for your environment. So we talked about some of the activities in our slide deck previously. For example, role change. If you make somebody an owner or an admin, for example. So that's as simple as that. You can also create a policy, just like we did for the the others, and you can also view a number of other activities that are happening at the Slack level. So if even something as simple as a guest joining a channel, you can also create an activity and an alert on that. If preferences are changed, for example, the one we saw in the slide, disallow public file sharing, or any kind of DLP access changed, or anything that would be relevant to your security configuration. All of this is part of our SaaS security posture management, or SSPM story, where our goal is to help you not only to know when there is something wrong happening, but also to stay secure. If you know your configuration is currently secure and you don't want to diverge from it, you have the ability to view when changes are happening and to get alerts on these. If there are any questions, please type them in the chat window. We'll be very happy to assist and respond to these directly. So we'll move on from the demo, and I'm going to go back to the last few slides on the deck. So questions, we said they're coming in the chat window. Please feel free. And I want you to have access to a few resources here. So our documentation, Microsoft Cloud App Security, you can access it by going to aka.ms/cas docs, and there you will find our Slack connector link and how to use it, how to connect Slack. Then we also have our Ninja training. We will paste the link in the chat window in the next few minutes. You can use that for any kind of training purposes in MCAS, and our Slack content will be added to that Ninja training very soon. Talking about Slack content, some of you may have seen already our blog on how to protect your environment using Slack. Most of what is in our blog is here, but you're welcome to review it and use the videos that are inside it. So now I see there are a few questions. Let's respond to these. So question from Victor.
Continue,
what is? I'm sorry?
No, continue.
Yep. What is the best choice for M365 developer customers who have endpoint security? Also, for those, what is the best source configuration or choice for snapshot reports? So snapshot reports, I assume you are talking about the cloud discovery feature of Microsoft Cloud App Security. You can use, usually for snapshot reports, you would want to use your firewall logs, and that would give you an idea of what's happening at the shadow IT level, which applications are currently in use by your environments. And you can upload almost any log from any firewall. A lot of them are supported by default, and if they're not, there is the ability to have a custom log, which works for almost everything. So the chance that you could not integrate your logs is very, very small, and so that's what I would usually recommend. If you do have Microsoft 365 Defender, you don't even need to include your firewall logs. You just have to enable the option in the Microsoft in the Defender for Endpoint solution, and you will get the data straight into MCAS without much more than that one click. Another anonymous question here. What are the governance actions offered in MCAS for the Slack integration? Idan, do you have any insight on which governance action we have or we're planning to have in the future?
Yeah, so currently the governance that we have for the Slack integration are via Azure AD. If you're using Azure AD, you can suspend the user, you can require user to sign in again or confirm user as compromised, and notify user or notify additional users. And if you're not using Azure AD, you will just get alert in MCAS, and then you will use the manual remediation process from your identity provider.
Thank you, Idan. Do you want to take the following question? Do we
Yeah.
plan to add in MCAS security posture recommendation also for Slack besides AWS and GCP, given that Slack has several security offerings settings at the service side?
Yes, so security configuration visibility is one of the roadmap in MCAS, and not only for Slack, to other SaaS applications also. And we are aiming to add this in the future, if it will be Slack to Salesforce, because security configuration visibility and remediation becoming one of the important and significant topics to detect within your SaaS application, if it's to detect multi-factor authentication enabled, disabled, or as we saw in the demo, if it's regarding public sharing link configuration. So we are planning to add it also.
Thank you, Idan. Any additional question? We're going to stay here another few minutes, but as usual, we made our target trying to help you understand how to protect your app in less than 30 minutes. So we are right on the mark, but we're happy to stay longer as long as you need if there are any questions. So we'll stay here a few more minutes if there's anything that you guys have in mind or would like to discuss. We're very happy to be able to respond to your questions. Okay. I believe there are no more questions for today. If there are any follow-up questions, you are welcome to post them in our security community, and myself or some of our teammates will be able to assist you and respond to these. All the relevant links are now here on your screen, so please feel free to review them, and do not hesitate to reach out through our community. Thank you all.